All right, we're going to run this Q&A. Again, want to welcome everyone to this Q&A. Question came up. A few questions came up. See if we get to both of them. Not sure we'll get to both of them. But it's a two-part question. One is somebody asked, what is the explanation of secular Jews, known as Chilonim, and that's how we call them, I guess, in Hebrew. Secular Jews ruling America, probably practically the whole world itself. Big politicians, businessmen, all Jews, mostly secular Jews. And it's not something new. It's a known thing throughout history. Is it because of the end of parts of Chonon, right about Amalek? Talks about Amalek over there, spoken about Amalek before. Can I clarify this? Because I have no hides going off the derech, going going away from what they're supposed to do because of this. I don't know why they would do that. I don't know why it matters. But yeah, let's deal with it. The question, let's go back to the question, another part of the question, but we'll deal with the first part of the question first. And that is what's the explanation secular Jews rule America? Yeah, or practically the whole world. In other words, you see politicians, you see businessmen, right? Not something new that's been going on throughout history. Okay. Now, let's understand the secular Jews today, especially the ones that have power. The Vilna Gaon, of Elijah Vilna and Evan Shleimer, and his commentary, he wrote this book, Evan Shleimer, which is say a Musar book or book on Jewish philosophy. Or a book on Jewish philosophy better. Book in Hashkafas, we would call it. And the Vilna Gaon there says that a person, that the Messiah himself can only come once the Erev Rav is destroyed. Right? You need the Erev Rav to basically die out, and then that allows the Messiah to come. Now he explains over there who the Erev Rav is, who the mixed multitude is. And basically, the Vilna Gaon says that the mixed multitude is basically secular Jews in prominent positions, whether in politics or organizations, whatever it may be. So they are definitely part of this mixed multitude. So basically they're going to, in order for the Messiah to come, they have to have a huge downfall. Right? So that could be anybody, a secular person in charge of a Jewish organization. It could be politicians, right? Certainly, probably most politicians here in Israel would fit that category. But the question, so that's really who they are. That's who they are today. So the question is because they are Amalek, right? So I spoke about Amalek my last class on Pirkei Avos. So I'm not gonna rehash that. But I will say, why do they have so much power? Right? It's not something new, true. You always had this. That you had secular Jews winning Nobel Prizes exponentially. Yeah, you look at the people who won Nobel Prize, science or math or whatever, Jews are top of the list. I mean, exponentially, which, also kind of hard to understand. Out of any other ethnic group, we're off the charts when it comes to that. So again, you could ask that also. Why are we misrepresented exponentially, in something like that? So I'll tell you very simple, and that is, remember, in the book of Genesis, God breathed in the spirit of life. right? He gave everybody a soul, Jew and non-Jew, breathed in the spirit of life. You don't have that spirit of life, you die, right? Essentially, you die. Now, God breathed in the spirit of life. What did he want? By creating life, what did God want? He wanted people to do what he says. He wants people to attach to him. That's what he wants. Now, if you're born a Jew, you got all the obligations. If you weren't born a Jew, you have one or two choices. You can either go through conversion. You can either go through conversion, take on all the mitzvahs, or you can keep the no-hide laws, right? Stays a non-Jew, keep the no-hide laws. You got 7 Israeli umbrellas. You got more than, let's say, 50, 60 altogether. And you can have a portion of the world to come. But in both cases, what's the goal? What's the goal of the Jew and non-Jew? The goal is to attach yourself to God, to do what God tells you, right? To go in his ways. Now, as a non-Jew, going in his ways is something very different than a Jew. You don't straddle both worlds, right? We've been to this many times. But at the same time, God gave us a book to know how to do it, right? He gave us a Torah. He passed it down to Moses. Moses passed it down to us. Very good. Now, so that's what he did. Now, for non-Jews, they have to keep whatever the no-hide laws are, right? That's what they have to keep. Now, based on that, God wants us to attach to him. He wants us to do what he says. Okay. So what's the explanation the person has? What's the explanation that secular Jews have so much power? That they succeed? Head of organizations, banks, all kinds of things. I'm always fond of saying if you put Jews in every country, Jews are very successful, right? They always rise to the top, right? In business, other things. You put them all in one country, it's a disaster. Now, if a secular Jew does not have Torah, you have to remember the soul is insatiable. The soul wants you to go towards Torah, spirituality. The body wants you to go physical things. So there's always a conflict, as we always say. There's always a conflict between body and soul. Now, since it's a conflict between body and soul, if the body has success, then what happens? If the body has success, you debase the body, you debase the soul. If the soul has success, right? Person keeping Torah mitzvahs or does a mitzvah, whatever, it overcomes the body. It elevates the body. Elevates the soul. Constant battle. Constant battle until you die. Now, if you don't have Torah mitzvahs, as a secular Jew, you do not, again, let's say they don't keep Torah mitzvahs. Doesn't matter, they do a mitzvah here, a mitzvah there. Essentially, they don't keep Torah mitzvahs. If they don't keep Torah mitzvahs, what are they going to do? How are they going to fill up that soul? The soul needs spirituality. If you don't give the soul spirituality, the soul dies. Right? I'm not saying figuratively. The soul needs to be fed. It needs to be fed spiritual things. Obviously, if you don't feed the body dies. Right? That's clear. But if you don't fill this insatiable quest for the soul, what's going to happen to the soul? Soul's going to get buried. Right? I'm not going to say soul doesn't die, but the soul is going to get buried very deep. Very, very deep. So if a person is not a Jew, let's say better, if a Jew is not in tune with what he's supposed to do, what's he going to do? Where is he going to go? You know where he's going to go? He's gonna put all his effort to making money. Academics. Jews, more than any other ethnic group, send their kids to college. Get multiple degrees, whatever it is. Why? Why is that for Jewish parents? Maybe more than others. Why is it so important that my kid goes to college? Which is a big lie, also, but we're not going to go there, right? Why is it so important for them to get a good education? What's the most important thing? You're making money. You got to have a good education. Now, I would say I think it's a big lie. Very, very big lie. You don't have to go to college to make money, but okay, that's a whole nother discussion. But what do they want? They want you to get a good education. They want you to do good in school, right? Be good scholastically in academics. Okay, then what? So then you get a job. You get a good job. And what's the whole point of getting a good job? You make money, right? Essentially, that's the way it works, right? You eat to live, you live to eat. But, that's why you got to have the degree, or that's what they claim. Now, if they're not going to put the effort to educate their kids Jewishly, right? What do? They give their kids a half-baked Jewish education. They want them to have something Jewish. That's what they want. They want to have some level of Jewish education. So they give them, they go once a week, maybe for a number of years, to get Jewishly educated. Right? Teachers don't want to be there. The kids don't necessarily want to be there. Okay, but then they have to prepare for their bar mitzvah. And then after their bar mitzvah, it's over. So the joke is, it's a sad joke. When does a secular Jew use their Hebrew name? 4 times. When they're born, come bar mitzvah, when they get married, and when they die. That's the truth. So the only time they'll ever use their Hebrew name. Okay. So their Jewish education is going to be basically non-existent. Once they are bar mitzvah, that's where the Jewish education ends for most people. Yeah. So all the synagogues are dying. Doesn't really matter. But what do they want? They want their kids to have a smattering of being Jewish. Not too much, obviously. They want to give them a little bit. But what to them is the most important thing? More than anything else. What's the most important thing? My son, the doctor, the lawyer, the accountant, the whatever. So why are Jews exponentially going to be more educated than anybody else, any other ethnic group? Because what else are they going to do? They're not going to put it into Torah. The boys aren't going to be, learning all day long, going through Gemara and Halacha and all these other things. They're not going to do that, right? Everyone else can barely read Hebrew. They got big mouths also. And you're saying all this stuff, they don't know nothing. Or nothing from nothing. Okay, very good. So if you're not going to put the effort into Torah, which is the majority, there's a majority of secular Jews, what are you going to put the effort in? The effort is going to go into what? Academics. The effort is going to go into business. Because obviously that's quote unquote the real world. Right? I never people tell me, I live in the real world. Right? Like someone said, I don't understand. At that time I had 6 kids. I don't understand you have so many kids. I have 1 kid, that was enough. I like animals. I like person's a vet, right? I like animals more than kids. You know what that says? It's like, person's not an introvert, per se. Right? But like saying, I like animals more than people. There are people like that. I know someone got all these dogs, right? They live with all these dogs. Good luck to them. And the person's like a recluse. Go to recluse living with all these dogs. Well, dogs are great. Man's best friend. They don't talk back. They're very friendly. Yeah. It's weird. Right? It's weird. Okay. So if you're not going to put the effort into Torah mitzvahs, you're going to give Torah mitzvah the backseat. a way back seat. What in the world are you going to focus on? Remember, the soul is insatiable. You need to feed it with Torah mitzvahs. If you don't feed it with Torah mitzvahs, what are you going to feed it with? This is the reason secular Jews. What's the hardest part of the week for them? In general, everyone will say Monday. Right? Monday's probably hard for everybody. Right after the weekend. Okay. Right? But what's the hardest day for them? Shabbos. Why is Shabbos the hardest day? First of all, they don't celebrate it. Second of all, what do? They find things to do. You get it? They find things to do. They run errands. Maybe they relax a little bit more than they do during the week. Okay. But what's the connection? The connection is it's the holiest day of the week. It's your opportunity as a Jew to tap in. If it's your opportunity to tap in and you're filling it with, I don't know, anything else. So yeah, you walk around, you're lazy, you sleep late, this, that. Well, you don't do the most important thing. And the most important thing is keeping the Sabbath, right? Is keeping Shabbos. So if you're not going to keep Shabbos, and you're not going to keep many of the rituals, even though you may do some of them, maybe go to synagogue, maybe a person go to synagogue, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, the light of Hanukkah menorah, have a Passover Seder. That's about it. Right? That's about most things that they'll do. Okay. So if that's all they do, where's the focus? They're not focusing on Torah mitzvahs. What else are they going to focus on? Right? They're going to focus on something else. What's that something else? Education. What's that something else? Business. That's what they're going to focus on. So now the question is, how can it be? How can it be like they practically rule America? Or they have so much power, and money and education and all that. That's the reason. The reason is because they don't have Torah. So if they don't have Torah, what are they going to put all their stock in? What are they going to work hard to do? They're going to work hard to make money. Be famous. Yeah. Be well educated. It's a Jewish thing. It is a Jewish thing. But the problem is their focus is obviously not in Torah. So if their focus is not in Torah, what are they going to do? They're going to use all their power, all their strength in order to be good in the secular world. Right? In science, in math, in the humanities, in whatever it may be. That focus will not be on Torah. So therefore, exponentially, since the soul is insatiable, and they're not going to fill it with Torah, they're going to fill it with garbage. Since they're going to fill it with garbage, it's going to be the best. See, that's the irony. They're going to be best and top of these fields. We're going to say exponentially doesn't make sense. That's the second part of the question, right? Or second part of the question is, why do Orthodox Jews? How do Orthodox Jews become happy when they see a secular Jew win a Nobel Prize? I don't know any religious Jews that think it's a great thing when a secular Jew wins a Nobel Prize. Maybe I hang out with the wrong people. I don't know. Why would they care? Let me ask that. Why would an Orthodox Jew? Why would I care? A secular Jew won a Nobel Prize in science. Wow, great! He won the Nobel Prize in science. Whoopee! So, what does that do for the world? Maybe you say made a great contribution. Maybe some scientific advances. This okay, great. Back to learning. Doesn't change anything. All of a sudden, the Orthodox Jew is going to be like jumping up and down, doing the jitterbug, doing the moonwalk, or who knows what. They can't do either one of them. And they're going to be like so ecstatic the secular Jew won a Nobel Prize. They're going to relate to that? I don't think they relate to that. I don't think they're going to say, wow, let's open a bottle of champagne. It's beautiful. The secular Jew won a Nobel Prize. Woo! So what? What does that have to do with anything? What does that have to do with what I'm learning? Nothing. It has nothing to do with anything, right? So a person says, why the other Orthodox Jews happy? I have no idea. Any Orthodox Jew I know, I've never heard anyone say, oh, look, this person won the Nobel Prize. I don't know anybody in the last 30 years to even mention something like that. I know some people maybe, more into sports, less into sports, whatever. But, most people, what's their focus on? Torah. That's what their focus is. Their focus is on Torah. You think they care? You think other Orthodox Jews really care? Who won the Nobel Prize? No, if you tell me, okay. It's a big thing. Voting this election. Yeah. Okay. Right? If you've got an anti-Semite you're voting against. Yeah, well, that's pretty important. Great. So, you go out and vote. You should vote for the right person. Great. But it's going to be the conversation of every second of every day, before and after. Right? A lot of good things coming. We'll see. See how it goes. But that's the extent of it. Now, you do have people that, movers and shakers in the Jewish community, they deal with, legislature that's not good for Orthodox Jews. They go to Congress, go other places, to help the cause of Orthodox Jews. Okay. Right? You always had that in Jewish history. You always needed people to do that. Very good. But they also need to learn. But if you're living amongst the nations, you don't want to be discriminated against. For sure, you don't want to be discriminated against. Now, is that the end to end all things? Is that the most important thing in the world? No. What's the most important thing in the world? Torah. But you need people to advocate. You need advocates. That's the word I was thinking of. You need advocates. Right? Go to City Hall, speak to politicians. You need advocates for that. That's what a good Israel does in America. Right? Spend all their time doing that. Yeah, you need that. So there's no discrimination. Okay. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. There are people that are very good at that dedicate their lives to that. Helping the Jewish people like that. Great. You need people like that. There's no question. But again, what's the main focus? What's the main focus of a Jewish Torah? This is protecting Torah. Okay. Yeah. So that's very good. That's very good. Now, obviously, it's not for everybody. Certainly not. Give advocates a lot of credit. They work very hard protecting rights of Jewish people. Yeah. They work very hard day and night. There is what to be said for that. No question. Absolutely no question. This is totally different. Yeah. So they're involved in it because they have to be. Yeah. They want to help the Jewish people. Great. So you're talking about secular people. If they don't have Torah mitzvahs, where's their focus going to be? Their focus is going to be the same as non-Jews. Right? That's what their focus is going to be. To make money. Business. College. Whatever. It's just that I would think it's more of a value for Jews. Secular Jews want the best for their kids. I mean, Orthodox Jews also do. But for secular Jews, what does it mean the best for their kids? They get the best education. Yeah. They become doctors, lawyers. They want to be proud of them. They're making money. They're making good money, the American dream. So that's why they're out there. Because they don't have anything else. They don't have Torah. So if they don't have Torah mitzvahs, where are they going to put their effort in? No, you very rarely see secular Jews that reach the highest level in sports. Some do. Very few. Right? It's very few. But sometimes, you can have a Jewish ball player, a baseball player or a football player. I mean, it happens. It's very rare. Right? Okay. But that's, that's not why they're sending them to school. right? I know somebody, they were telling me they have a grandchild, whatever, is very good at golf. Yeah. Very, very good at golf. They don't want to go on the tour. Yeah, it's gonna make money, not gonna make money. Gonna have a good education, go into business, make money. Can't make money from golf. Like only, top players, but you gotta dedicate yourself to that. Travel all over the world. Okay. Right, but how many people really make it? Very few people really make it. Right? Someone told me, it's like, I don't want that for them. Gonna be normal. Okay, you want to do that on the side? Good. What's the main focus? You go to college, go to business school, you make money. Right? You go into business. Right? What else are they gonna do? What in the world are they gonna do? So the explanation is why they're successful in these things, because they put all their effort into it. They don't have anything else. So they put all their effort into that. Yeah. They put all their effort into it, and they're, certainly backed by the parents still because they want them to get a good education and all that. And then everything else follows. So is it any wonder? Is it any wonder that at the top of these organizations? I mean, come on. Some of the most successful Jews today, money-wise, bunch of leftists. Yeah. Bunch of leftists. Why? Because they don't have Torah. Makes perfect sense. I don't see how anybody, right? And I agree with Trump on this. We're not going to get political. A Jew had to be an idiot to vote for her. An idiot, right? No question. What she wanted to do, vis-a-vis Israel and other things, right? I go a whole laundry list here of things, right? That's not even the point. Yeah, if they're not going to be religious, they'll go the other extreme because they have no values. Let's say better, they don't have Torah values. When you don't have Torah values, are you any different than a non-Jew? No. Could be worse. We're like all these organizations, who's like the top? Jews. Like some of the worst things. Some of the worst things. Because their focus is out of whack. Way out of whack. I'll just give one example, just in this last election. Give two examples. One is vis-a-vis Israel. She's certainly not a lover of Israel, no question. They still want to hold, withdraw money, build with, humanitarian aid in Gaza, see if they do it or not, withdraw weapons or whatever. They're not lovers of Israel. Clear. I think it's pretty clear. Yeah. I'll even give a second example. All the things that have happened since October 7th in America, all over college campuses. Yeah, these thugs, punks, whatever, all over college campuses. Where in the world was this Biden administration? Where? They went there, they saw, they investigated, they didn't do anything. Zero. Freedom of speech, it depends on the context. I mean, it's absurd. That people could have been lynched. Could have been lynched. Either of them go to visit any college campus, send anybody there, see what's going on. So some people will say, these political pundits will say, come on, they're like aristocratic. They stuck their nose up. They weren't with the people. They did what they wanted. Yeah, maybe it's why they lost. Maybe. So think about it. These people are being targeted on every college campus. They don't do anything. Nothing. They're going to defend your rights. Forget about migrants, other things, a lot of issues. But I'm talking about this issue. This issue. How in the world could you vote for? Insanity. They still got a lot of secular Jews voted for him. Right? Say what you want about him, but I mean, we look at it, who we're going to vote for. It's going to be best for us. It's going to be best for Israel. Doesn't matter, Democrat or Republican, who's going to be the best? Who's going to defend us? Or help defend us?
Americans vote for America, not Israel.
You're right. So what? So what? Is it America? So that's the whole question.
That is the question. America is for America, like Israel is for Israel. Every country is for themselves.
No, I understand. I understand, but the question always is that there's dual loyalty, right? There's always dual loyalty they claim against Jews. They say you're Jewish or you're American, right? But who they're going to look at somebody who they're going to vote for vis-a-vis two things. One is what's going on in America, and the other thing is vis-a-vis Israel. Now, secular Jews, I don't know what they're exactly, what exactly they're looking at. Maybe they're just focused on America. Maybe, maybe you're right. So, there's a dual loyalty, right? And that's what the anti-Semites say. Like, come on, either you're with us or you're against us. You can't be both, right? But there's a conflict. There is a conflict. But anyway, not to get sidetracked. The point is that the further away you go from Torah, the more likely you're gonna be like the rest of the world. So if you don't focus on Torah, what's gonna be? What's gonna be? So then you'll be focused on other things. You'll go in that path, and you'll be the cream of the crop in these other fields. That's the reason. In every country, it's been that way. The more Jews go away from religion, the more they're going to be great in math, science, humanities, other things, because they don't have Torah. That's the reason. So the person's right. This has gone out throughout history because there's a conflict. There's a conflict there. They're not going to go into Torah, so that's what they're going to go into, right? That's what they're going to go into. So then the person said, okay, that anti-Semites blame ultra-Orthodox Jews for this. Why? So that's an interesting observation, because one of the claims, and I'm not saying it is the claim and the reason, why 6 million Jews were killed during the Holocaust. Nobody knows why. Some want to say possibly the reason was there was so much assimilation and intermarriage that Orthodox Jews didn't protest. That Orthodox Jews didn't either do enough to bring them closer, or at least, in some people desecrating Shabbos, I'm not saying they had to make a ruckus about it, but, they had to show that it's wrong. So some claim, again, I'm not saying it's the reason, some claim, and that is that, as the Gemara says, if you turn the other way, even if someone, even if you rebuke someone, they're not going to listen, you still may have an obligation to rebuke them. But if you turn the other way and you don't say anything, you're just as guilty. Guilty by association. And say, but they won't listen. Right? Nobody's going to listen. Okay. That doesn't necessarily exempt you from giving someone rebuke. Right? Spoken about that also. Different context. But in this case, anti-Semites blame us for it. Why are they blaming us? Why in the world are they blaming us? So you can say, well, you got a problem with Jewish schools. And a lot of people, the system is what it is. And you got to be more open-minded. You got to do other things. So this is why, and again, this doesn't make any sense to me either, right? Because you got a lot of Noahites because of this go off. I have no idea what that means. It doesn't make any sense to me at all. If a non-Jew, let's say like this, if a non-Jew sees all these secular Jews winning Nobel Prizes, and all these secular Jews doing, I don't know, whatever they're doing, in universities, in business, and anything else. If non-Jews see that, they're going to blame us. Why in the world are they going to blame us? So you're going to say, someone might say, well, you're a light into nations, the entire Jewish people, so you have to draw them closer. Okay. That might be true. We have an obligation. Try and draw them closer. And if they don't want, and you tried this, and you tried that, and they don't want, and you get a lot of people doing their own thing, and they just say, just leave me alone. I want to live my own life, etc. Why is that my fault? Why is that an ultra-Orthodox Jew's fault? And that a non-Jew is going to look at it and say, just like the anti-Semites say, it's all your fault. Why is it our fault? If I got an obligation to bring them closer and I'm not doing my job, right? And the Jewish people aren't doing their job, and you're losing tens of thousands of Jews every year to assimilation into marriage. There's a claim. There's a claim, right? Even, how many outreach professionals are there out there? Not, not so many, they're trying to do the best they can, in these circumstances. Okay. Even if they bring people back to Judaism, you're still losing 3, 4, 5 times the amount of assimilation into marriage. I'm not saying you shouldn't try, right? Not making that claim. But why would a non-Jew say, see, the Orthodox Jews, they're the ones causing it. Why in the world are we causing it? Now, it could be, some will say, because, we're not out there. We're too busy learning and, and doing other things, and we don't care. Maybe that's the claim. The fact that we don't care. Now, some people just will think about, their own learning and it's like, what other people deal with it? But other people go out there and do it. Now, I'm not saying everyone's going to be, an outreach professional. Okay. But there's a spiritual holocaust going on, right? That's for sure. But if you have, these secular Jews winning Nobel Prizes and, they're all in academics and doing why would a non-Jew look at Orthodox Jews and say it's your fault? Like, that makes absolutely no sense to me. They're not going to look at us and say, oh, look, you're causing it. What do you mean? We're sending our kids to yeshiva. We're learning ourselves. We're business people. We're teaching others. We're, whatever. We're doing what we need to do. Can we do it better? Yes. Should we be more out there, maybe trying to draw people closer? Could be. But a non-Jew is not going to look at an Orthodox Jew. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me to say that. They're going to say, oh, look, you're doing this, you're doing that. And, and they're going to say, I don't want to be a Noahide anymore. Well, my kesher. What in the world's the connection? If you're going to tell me, Orthodox rabbis are not helping them, and they're pushing them away, and they're not teaching them when they should or when they're able or whatever. Okay, I hear the claim. I hear that claim. But what does that have to do with secular Jews out there? Oh, I see what secular Jews do, and therefore it turns me off and I want to be a Noahide because, that's our fault. We're guilty. Yeah, maybe we're guilty. We need to be out there more. We need to try and, draw non-Jews closer. Yes, Jews closer, to Torah. I spoke to someone yesterday, and they, whatever, interested in converting, and they want to be Reformed Jew, conservative Jew. So I figured, okay, an opportunity just to, try and explain to them exactly what that means and what it represents, because person didn't really have a clue, what either movement, was really about, except for the fact that, well, I can't work on Shabbos, I want to be Orthodox. But so anyway, I went through this whole thing. God gave the Torah, passed down to Moses, and you can't change it, and it's not silly putty, you can't do whatever you want, and Shabbos is one of the 10 commandments, and if you don't observe it, as a Jew, you get the death penalty, you get spiritually cut off, it's pretty severe. It's like, oh, come on. I said, that's what it says. I said, you think it's like a 5-year option to renew? I can do what I want. Nah, Shabbos not so important. I'll fit it in. No. Torah doesn't say that. I said, where does it say in the Torah I can pick and choose? Doesn't say that. So anyway, I went through a whole list of things. And then it's like, well, it's been a great conversation. I'm going to, continue on my path. I want to be a Reformed Jew. It wasn't about issues. They want to do what they want to do. Okay. So they'll get lost down the line, and whatever happens, right? But are secular Jews any better in that sense? Even the only difference is they're born Jewish. Well, they have the same arguments. They're not different. They're not so different. Oh, come on, you really think that? Really well. Not everyone, what was part of the argument? Not everyone can be Orthodox. I'm like, why not? I said, up until 200 years ago, 250 years ago, everyone was Orthodox. Some more, some less. You always had people, going off at some level. Okay. But the majority of people were Orthodox. That didn't change. These movements are 200 years old. They're 200 years old. They started differently. Okay. But essentially, they're 200 years old. There's not much difference between either one of them. Person had no clue. Oh, yeah, how they started, why they started, how it happened. Okay. But I said, the bottom line is God gave the Torah, he did. And if he did, what's my obligation? But what was the answer? What's the answer? I could never do that. Not everyone's supposed to be Orthodox, and basically saying I'm going to do what I want. Okay. That's their choice. I'm not running after them. It's not my job. Right? They want to go in that path. That's their choice. Right? And they said, well, do you work with Reformed Jews? I said, no. I said, you're going to be a fossil anyway, just going to disappear. But, you want to go in that direction, it's your choice. But it's a dying breed. They're going to die out at some point. Right? But what's the bottom line? They want to do what they want to do. Does it secular Jew any different? They're no different. They're just born Jewish. So they learn a little bit about Judaism. You know what they say? You learn a little bit about a lot of different topics. It makes you an expert in nothing. So they learn a little bit about Judaism, think they got everything in Judaism, have the bar mitzvah, and it's over. So then where are they going to go? Again, education, be doctors, lawyers, other things. That's what they'll do. That's what they'll fill their insatiable soul with. Right? But to blame ultra-Orthodox Jews that we're the cause of it, that no eyes are going to see this, they're going to analyze this, which I can't even imagine, but they're going to analyze it. They look at all the secular Jews, running around and whatever, and we're not doing what we're supposed to do, so it's our fault. So therefore, we're not going to be Noahites. There's no logic in that. None. I don't see any logic, right, in that. Right? So that was really the first part. First part of the question. Second part of the question, I'll deal with the questions after this. Second part of the question is, why do ultra-Orthodox Jews, I pretty much answered this, happy when a secular Jew wins a Nobel Prize? But again, in 30 years, I've never heard anybody say they're ecstatic when a secular Jew won a Nobel Prize. Or even, let's say, a secular Jew won something in the Olympics. Wow, look, this Jew won something in the Olympics. They're no relevance. Nostalgia, maybe, interesting. Okay, so they won something in the Olympics. That's something like, we're like, if a person was in the middle of learning, I'll give an example. Right? I'll make it a little bit extreme here because I'm an extremist, right? You have the Mishnah Pirkei Avos. I'll get there when I'm about 97. The Mishnah Pirkei Avos says two people sitting and learning, right? Two people sitting and learning, and one person says, wow, look at this beautiful tree. Look at this beautiful thing of God's creation. Look at the sunset. Oh, it's so beautiful. Says the Mishnah Pirkei Avos, you say that while you're learning, you're liable for death penalty. Death penalty? What do you mean death penalty? You're giving God praise for his creation. Isn't God's not going to accept your praise for his creation? What does the Mishnah Pirkei Avos say? The Mishnah Pirkei Avos says two people sitting and learning. They weren't sitting and learning, it's a different issue. Not saying where they could have been learning. They're doing something else. Whatever. They, wow, what a beautiful sunrise. Okay. Or sunset. Great. Beautiful mountains. That's a different situation. If they're sitting and learning and you're praising God's creation, yeah, that's a problem. Why is it a problem? Why is it a problem? Because you're supposed to be focused on what you're doing. You're supposed to be focused on the task at hand, whatever you're learning. You're learning Chumash and Rashi. Yeah? A person's learning Gemara. I don't know. They're learning Jewish philosophy. They're learning whatever they're learning. They're learning halach. They're learning Jewish law. Your focus is on the task at hand. Not that you're saying God's creation is beautiful. Okay. God understands his creation is beautiful. That's not the time to do it. That's the point. That is not the time to do it. So therefore, the punishment, when I get to that, we'll go in more detail, but the punishment is much more severe. Because you're wasting time here. Your focus is not what it's supposed to be on. Your focus is supposed to be on what you're learning. Right? That's why if a person's learning, you get a certain amount of time to learn. That's it. Shut out everything. Shut out everything. Yeah? Because you don't want to waste time. You don't want to waste time. If you sit in and learn, you say, even in this case, which is a big novelty here. It's a big novelty. If you tell me you're talking about politics, you're talking about sports, talking about something else in middle learning, that I hear is much more severe. Because it has nothing to do with what you're doing. It's totally nothing to do. Right? And these things should not be spoken about in the synagogue or study hall or whatever. Okay, that I hear. That I would hear pretty clear. The praising God's creation, the saying how great God is. Look what he created. That's pretty severe. Pretty severe. So the simple answer is that's not the time to do it. You want to speak about God's creation, how great it is, and whatever. Good, not while you're learning. So, a person can't just do and think what they want. It's not, not a free world over here, so to speak. There are guidelines, right? There are guidelines. So therefore, a person's going to say, and again, 30 years, I've never heard anyone say such a thing. Yeah, never. It could be the modern Orthodox community. They might praise a secular Jew for winning a Nobel Prize. Yeah, whether science or math or other things. Okay, wouldn't put it past them. That's fine. That's fine for their community. An ultra-Orthodox Jew is going to praise a secular Jew for winning a Nobel Prize? I've never heard such a thing. Let me repeat that. I've never heard such a thing. So that I'm going to knock out and say, why do ultra-Orthodox Jews are happy when that happens? They're not. They're absolutely, anybody I know, they're not. And they're not making any statements about it, and not wasting time on it. Or if they say, imagine, I'll even take it one step further. Imagine there was a Jewish ball player, right? Knocks out a home run, wins the World Series. It's going to be like that much nostalgia? Orthodox Jews are going to be speaking about it for days? I don't think so. Maybe it'll come up here and there, conversation, maybe, right? Maybe some nostalgic thing. Yeah, so that's what you're talking about. Oh, okay. So it was nostalgia. Yeah, because the person was Jewish and look what they did. Okay. Yeah. They helped the team win the World Series. But deep down, let's analyze. Is that a good thing? Even if it's nostalgia. And they say, wow, you hear that? This Jewish guy hit a home run. Total waste of time. And no effect on anything. See, right. So if a person would do that, I hear. I would hear that. I can understand why someone may say it, but they don't say it in that way, saying, "Oh, want to worship this person. What a great thing he did, and what a sanctification of God's name." I don't think so. People talk about that like by Sandy Koufax, right? Sandy Koufax didn't play on Yom Kippur. Okay, yeah, I don't know if he fasted on Yom Kippur, but he didn't play in the World Series on Yom Kippur. There is something to be said for that, right? Right, so I'm not stepping in his shoes what level of religiosity he had, he didn't have, or whatever. That's not something necessarily so small. You take someone the biggest stage of the World Series, his turn to pitch says, I'm not going to pitch. I'll pitch, another day. I'm not going to pitch this day because it's Yom Kippur. Imagine if that was the last day of the series. That was the last game. And he says, ideologically, I'm not going to pitch because it's the holiest day of the year. Whether he fasts, he doesn't fast, doesn't matter. That is a huge thing. In God's eyes, that's a huge thing. Because he's at the pinnacle of his game, helping his team win a championship, whatever it's worth. And he's saying, I'm not going to play because it's Yom Kippur. Now, you could analyze and say, come on, he doesn't keep the Sabbath. He plays on Shabbos, right? He plays on Shabbos. Yeah, he probably played on Shavuos. Yeah, comes out in the summer. Passover. All right, could really knock him down to size here, and what he does and doesn't do doesn't really matter, right? But, you could say, big deal. So he didn't play in Yom Kippur. It's a big deal. It is actually a big deal. That is a huge thing. Yeah, forget about him playing, if he played on Shabbos or other thing. He didn't play in Yom Kippur. Yeah, I don't think it's such a small thing. Other people say, that's so what? He didn't play in Yom Kippur. Yeah, so he didn't play in Yom Kippur. But again, I would take it one step further. Imagine the whole season's on the line. Yeah, forget it's the last game. Forget it's game 7. Let's say they're down 3-2. Let's say. And they're not even playing in their own ballpark. Yeah, so it's even much harder. Right? They need their ace out there, but he's not going to play because it's Yom Kippur. That's a huge thing. God's eyes? I'm not going to say he's going to overlook everything the person's done. That's not a small thing, though. That's definitely not a small thing. And even if it wasn't, even the beginning of the series, even if it's tied up 1-1 or whatever it is, still significant. That is significant. What the person, that is self-sacrifice. To a point. To a point. But again, why would an ultra-Orthodox Jew, I'll ask the question, why would an ultra-Orthodox Jew be so ecstatic a secular Jew won the Nobel Prize? Unless you tell me like it's nostalgia and they say, wow, look at this guy won, I don't know too many people, if anybody, like waste their time thinking about this because, okay, unless they made like some invention that's like changed the world, or whatever, and and it's helped them in their lives, then I can hear something. They're thankful. Look what the person did. Look at the knowledge that they had and the research that they did. Okay. That's worth something. I'm not saying not. But if like has no connection to something like abstract and who knows what, something abstract and math has no effect on anything. First, gonna say, "Wow, secular Jew won the Nobel Prize." It's gonna lose sleep over it. Say, "Wow, go out and have a party, buy a cake and say, oh, it's such a great thing." I don't think so. That's not the type of thing we would, we would make a big thing about. You tell me somebody over time finish the entire Talmud and knows it well and whatever. They make a big thing about it. That's something, because that's important. Jewish scholarship is important. This other stuff's not important in the bigger scheme of things. Now, someone could say, well, don't you need people to, study science and make it, make advances in different things? Sure. Of course. You always need people like that. And what if they're not, let's say an Orthodox Jew, let's say, he just feels he can't learn, or so I'm going to learn a little bit, and, this is what drive, okay. Not, and that's where they're going to make their livelihood from. Okay. Yeah. Not the end to end all things. Right. That's the problem. If someone is saying like this is the end to end all things, yeah, that's a problem. There's a problem. Because there's definitely a hierarchy by us. By the other Orthodox Jews, what's the most important thing, bar none, is Torah, and Torah scholarship and learning and always learning and reviewing. That's the most important thing. I got to put bread on the table. Good, so you do whatever it takes, right? You do what it takes to put bread on the table. That's fine, right? So you might need other education to do that. Doesn't necessarily mean you need a degree, whatever. But that's you're not doing it to that point. For sure not. You're doing it because you get an obligation to put bread on the table. Okay. Yeah, then it's a totally different outlook. Totally different outlook. Now, some people are interested in secular things. They want to read up on secular things. Okay. Yeah, up to a point. But the Gemara asks the question, when is it permissible to learn Chochmos Yevonis? What is Chochmos Yevonis? Basically Greek wisdom. So Gemara's answer is when it's neither day or night. So at twilight, you could learn it, right? Or maybe in the bathroom also, right? You could learn it. Now, if if whatever profession a person's going to go into, they got to learn how the profession works and might need extra knowledge and this and that. Okay, they might need specialized knowledge. So when you get that specialized knowledge, you're exempt from learning Torah, right? Certainly for a guy, no question. But is that the end to end all things? No. The end to end all things is Torah. That's it. This is going to help you make a living. Okay. So you got to learn it and you got to know it and you got to do it well and, and all that. Okay. I don't have a problem with that either. Right? You got to find time to learn Torah also. Good. But the end to end all things, like I said, I don't even understand the question. Right? Two parts of the question I don't understand. Right? But an Orthodox Jew is going to say, going to say such a great thing that secular Jew did. I don't know. Find that hard to believe. Find that very hard to believe. Let me take some questions here. No, I need to be taught what pertains to them, right? Not be taught. Okay. All right, let me see. There are questions here. 1 second. Somebody asked, is it possible to remain unaffiliated as a Jew? How can you be unaffiliated? It's like saying military intelligence. Yeah, it's an oxymoron. A Jew, by definition, is someone who's supposed to keep Torah mitzvahs. That's why you can't be unaffiliated. You could make a choice. Let's say better. You could make a choice to not keep Torah mitzvahs. It's your choice. 100% your choice. But obviously the obligation is to keep Torah mitzvahs. Right? So is it possible to remain unaffiliated as a Jew? Yes. Majority of Jews today are unaffiliated. There are Jews associated, they affiliate with the Reform movement, with the conservative movement, with, I don't know, progressive, or the people say that they're Orthodox. Okay, but again, up until 200 years ago, just about everybody was Orthodox, some more, some less. You had people go off, okay. Being unaffiliated means that you have no connection. You have very little connection to Torah mitzvahs. You might be connected culturally. I've heard a number of people say this. I'm a cultural Jew. I'm a Jew in my heart. So what does that mean? So what that means in general is maybe they go to synagogue Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, they light a Hanukkah menorah, they have a Passover Seder, and that's about it. Yeah, but they're culturally Jewish. Okay. Can a Jew pick and choose the best practices in which Jewish movement? No. That was easy. There's where in the Torah does it say that I'm allowed to do whatever I want? There are people, I would say that, some people, let's say, want to affiliate with Hasidus. They want to be more, Hasidic. Some people more into ethics, Musar. Some into Jewish philosophy. Some into Jewish law. Some into Chumash. Okay. People have their different tracks that they feel more of an affinity to. That doesn't mean whichever aspect that a Jew feels a more affinity to, that doesn't mean you're picking and choosing. Right? You still got to believe in God. You still got to pray. Men still have to wear tefillin. You have to keep Sabbath. You have to keep festivals. You can't pick and choose. Who you want to identify with? See, it's interesting. A person thinks, I've heard people say, God gave the Torah, there were 3 lines. If you're in the Orthodox line, you got all the mitzvahs. If you're in the conservative line, you got some of the mitzvahs. If you're in the Reform line, you got very little. But that's not what the Torah says. The Torah says God gave the entire Torah to the Jewish people. Passed it down through Moses, the entire thing. Where do you see? Anywhere in the Torah that says you can pick and choose. Yeah. Can you pick and choose best practices which each Jewish movement or sect emphasizes? Let me ask a fundamental, obnoxious question. A fundamental, obnoxious question is, what do you think, in general, a reform, let's say, the reform movement, what's their most important mitzvah? What's their most important mitzvah? Gay rabbis? Transgender? Homosexuality? Not the Sabbath. Not wearing tzitzis. Right? Not, not keeping Passover the right way. So what do they stand for? They stand for whatever they want to do. Their goal was 100% to uproot Torah. That's how they started. A couple hundred years ago. They wanted to uproot Torah. The conservative movement didn't start out that way. They wanted to make it more modern for the 20th century. Most of the rabbis there were Orthodox. Yeah, but then things got watered down. They stopped keeping Jewish law, but it's not really that much difference. The difference is how they started, right? So they'll say, what's one of the most important things? Tikkun olam, right? Fix out the world. I don't know if they know what that means. But there are things, that they may emphasize. And I told this person also last night, I said my main issue, or besides the fact a lot of them don't believe in God or whatever, my main issue is the fact that they cannot pass it down to the next generation. And you get 60 to 70% intermarriage. And I said, a mule is a very strong animal. It's a hybrid between a donkey and a horse. So I told them, I said, what the problem with a mule is? I said, it's sterile. Doesn't reproduce. These groups don't reproduce. I said, how can you want to be part of a movement that 7 out of 10 are opting out and into marrying? They're like, yeah, I'm gonna do what I want. I was like, all right. Yeah, it's your choice. But again, what things are they going to emphasize that someone's going to be, attracted to? The most important thing that people are attracted to is that they're not Orthodox, they're not so stringent, and they're all welcoming. So no matter who you are or what you do, it's okay. That's what they stand for, most of them. I mean, they themselves, I just point this out, they themselves don't even know what their own ideology is. If you were to ask your average conservative Reform Jew, you would ask them. You would ask them that question. What is the main part of your ideology? They don't even know. They don't have a clue. If you would ask a Reform Jew, what do you think about this women at the wall and, what they do? Yeah. And what they want. They don't even know about it. If you would say, to a Reform Jew, what are the, 10 most important things that difficult things that are facing the Reform movement? It's not going to be the women of the wall and equality. That's going to come up like number 150,272. They don't even know it's an issue. And most of them have never been to Israel, which is kind of ironic. Yeah. They don't come here like, they make all this noise. Because if you have money, you can make noise, right? They make all this noise and we want equality, this and that. They don't even pray during the week. Most of them. You say, how do you know that? Because if they're not in tune to keeping Torah mitzvahs, so they do what they want. Maybe some a little bit, maybe some more. Okay, I'm not going to say no one ever prays. Not going to say that, right? But that's what they're in tune for. So yeah, picking and choosing is a problem. It's a serious problem. So I said to this person yesterday, I said, even if I would agree you could do that, even if I would say, my ultimate, let things ride, so to speak, be ultra reasonable. If I'd be ultra reasonable and I'd say, yeah, okay. Have gay rabbis, mix seating, do this, cut out prayers, do all these other things. Okay. If it would bring people closer to Torah and mitzvahs, then we could have a very short discussion. I said, I'd entertain a very short discussion. I said, but if you can't pass it down to the next generation, then, it doesn't work. If you can show me it works, maybe we'll have a short discussion. But it doesn't work. 7 out of 10 dropouts in intermarriage does not work. We have a 95% success rate. Maybe it's a little bit less, but we're not losing 7 out of 10. We're having 6, 7, 8 kids, each family, and we have very, very high success rate. We have a dropout rate, not saying not, but we have a very, very high success rate. A dropout rate of 70%? It's game over. Imagine, make it very simple. A person runs a business, they lose 70% of their business every year. That's it. 1 year, they're up finished. Can't sustain it. So yeah, in my ultimate reasonable self, I would say, show me. Show me where it says I can pick and choose. And even if you could show me, even if we had this short discussion, it doesn't work. Doesn't work. I see it doesn't work. I had a lot of synagogues back in the day. 1,000 families here, 500 families there, 2,000 families. Like someone told me, it's like, yeah, we have synagogue 2,000 families. So okay, let me ask you. I said, this person's intermarried. How many people are like you in that synagogue? I said, if it's more than 50%, that synagogue is going to die also at some point. And most of the congregants there aren't Jewish. That doesn't bode well. It doesn't bode well. So they're going to pick and choose. They're going to pick and choose. And, since their movements are heretical, a lot of them don't believe in God, or so we're not the same God we believe in. They cut out a lot of the mitzvahs. Then, they'll say, that's how I draw closer to God. But that's not what God says. See, there are some people out there who say, I'm going to do what God wants. Great. Yeah? So do what God says. God says should eat pork? No. Does God say we'll have to desecrate Shabbos? No. Oh, but it depends what you mean by Shabbos. Yeah? Gotta go in definitions now. So it doesn't work. Right? It doesn't work. If it would draw people closer, you have an argument, somewhat. Very little argument. Right? But it doesn't. Someone told me, a number of years ago, they had the conservative movement, that whole thing, bring Friday night into Shabbos. They wanted more people to come, synagogue on Shabbos. So one synagogue, they had 1,000 people there. 1,000 people. Amazing. I said, and next week and the week after. I said, people doing follow-up. What are they doing? Good. Once you get in the synagogue, what are you going to give them? What are you going to inspire them with? To come next week. Food. Oh, that's good. That'll bring people. Right? Yeah, you got food, you can bring people. I said over time, less people are going to come. Less people are going to come. You need to give them something. You're going to give them something. But see, even though we say there's 70 faces to Torah, it has to be within the parameters of Torah. First say, but I feel so close to God. Okay. But how can a person feel close to God if it's not doing what God wants? They can feel it. That's not the right thing. Right? There's the right way to do things, the wrong way to do things. So, can a person get, all carried away and do things that God doesn't want you to do and think you're doing the right thing and you have this whole agenda and you're drawing yourself closer? Sure. Is it real? No. And does it work? Doesn't work. The older generation had more of a connection to Torah mitzvahs. They gave their kids a watered-down version. The watered-down version doesn't work. Just doesn't work. Right? So I gotta say, even if it's drawing closer, but again, even for themselves, what does that mean? If you tell me it draws them closer to Torah observance and they're keeping more mitzvahs, I could hear. I could hear that. Right? But I don't think it does. I think it's clear it doesn't. Maybe get a little more inspired. Maybe some people will. Like I say, everybody. Some people might. Vast majority. No, I don't. It's according to what they want. It's the problem with Noahide also. You can't straddle both worlds. Right? You want to be a Noahide, stay a Noahide. You want to convert, convert. Don't mix the two. Do not mix the two. It's plenty for Noahides to do also. Within the right parameters. But if you're outside the parameters, then that's not called Torah. So even in this case, they're going to be inspired, they're going to this, they're going to that. It's not within the parameters of Torah. Now, I'm not saying they're not Jewish. If their mother's Jewish, they're Jewish, right? But if they're following something that God doesn't want them to do and it's made up in their own mind and they pick and choose and this and that, that's not Torah. That's not what Torah says. Not what my Torah says. Not what the commentaries say. Right? They're doing what they want. Yeah? They're doing what they want. If I could see that it does something, that it actually works, yeah. But it doesn't. Right? In either case, it's forbidden. Doesn't matter. Either case, I don't have to pick and choose. If it's like, a person's doing the best they can, they want to become more observant, as they go on, that's a different issue. But if their mentality is I'm going to pick and choose anyway, I'm going to do what I want, that's, and that's the direction they're going, then that's a problem. That is a problem. Each one covers different and brings unique culture to the back. Yeah. Yeah. So that's inappropriate about an Indian Jew, for example, wearing Indian clothing. Yeah. So again, that's a different issue. Yeah. That is a different issue. Yeah. A person, if they want to fit into a Jewish community, they're going to dress like the community dresses. Now, does that mean they can't bring, their own cuisine to the table? They can. They can make kosher versions of it. That's not a problem. And if there are Jewish customs in that community and they, whatever, okay. Right? But again, dress is going to be something else. Dress will be something totally different. Can a kosher Indian cuisine be served at a Jewish wedding? Why not? Nothing forbidden about that. Can it be served instead of gefilte fish? Probably be better than gefilte fish. Yeah. So why not? And that shouldn't be a problem. Can Jew convert incorporate his new culture in the service of God if it's within those parameters? If it's in the parameters of Torah, yes. But I would guarantee, I put all the money down on the table that I don't have, and I would guarantee probably a lot of these customs aren't good. They're probably going in the ways of the non-Jews, so they probably shouldn't be done. If it's permitted, then yeah. Then, they can incorporate that. Right? But then you got to be careful, is it going in the ways of non-Jews or not? And if it's going in the ways of non-Jews, then it's forbidden. Not all customs will be forbidden, depends. Right? Depends what it is. If it helps the person, let's say, draw closer to God, yeah. It's not going to be forbidden unless it's either pagan or it's really going in the ways of non-Jews. If it's something that can help them, that falls within the parameters of Torah, then it's fine. Then that should be fine. Before JIT, a Jew in training, moves in Jewish community, how long before we should contact the rabbi? 2-3 months. I would say even before. Person decides they're going to move into a community, yeah. They should contact at that time. Not right before they're going to come or, whatever. Just give it enough time. Is 2-3 months enough time? I don't know. It depends. A person says, okay, we have, we're going to look for a place that's not, I would contact a rabbi before. So it depends on the time frame, right? It should be, 2 or 3 months probably good. It's probably good. You might need more time to do that, but that's probably good. What happened 200 years ago changed Jewish values? I'll tell you what my Rabbi said. He said rabbis lost power. They took power out against the rabbis, took it out of their hands. There's a community in Panama, Jewish community in Panama. There's no intermarriage. Why is there no intermarriage? Because the rabbi of that synagogue for 50 years ruled it like an iron fist. Basically, did not allow Jews to marry non-Jews. Made a big stink about it, whatever. No intermarriage. So if rabbis have power, if rabbis have power, so then they can implement things. They put pressure on people. If that stops them, good. I don't have a problem with that. Right? If that's going to stop a person from assimilation and intermarry, why not? But it's like the only community I've ever heard besides Syrian community who does not allow converts. Even they could be the second coming of Moses, doesn't matter. They made a decree that they don't want converts by them. Okay. Yeah. So they don't have it, they don't allow them part of their community, period. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if they, converted by the best rabbinical court. Irrelevant. They will not allow them in the community, period. That's it. So they don't have intermarriage. That's the only other community besides this community in Panama. And the reason the Panama community doesn't have intermarriage is because the rabbi ran it like an iron fist. So if you run it like an iron fist, then you won't have it. But, it's a lot harder to do because people always looking over their shoulder. That's why someone who's a rabbi of a synagogue should not get paid by them, right? Find, other ways to support themselves. So they don't have a say in what they say or what they did. The worst part of it is you get a board. The board said, well, you got to be careful, saying this, saying that. My Rabbi would say, the person's a rabbi of a synagogue, and the synagogue's not trying to drive him out of town. He's not doing his job right because the rabbi has to speak what people need to hear, not what they think they need to hear. In other words, the person might have to speak strong, but he has to speak what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. Right? It's a big difference. Big difference. So, when you don't have that kind of power and people just do whatever they want, they don't listen to them. So that's what happens. Right? That's what happens. Someone here says Reformed Jews might have been very sweet and nice. I didn't say they weren't nice. Right? I never made that claim that they weren't nice. That's not the issue. They can be very nice. So what? They're uprooting fundamental principles in Judaism. They can be the nicest of people. I could sit there for the next 2 hours and show being nice doesn't mean anything to God. Because I guarantee if you break it down, are they doing things that are good in God's eyes or not? Yeah. If they're not doing good things in God's eyes, doesn't matter how nice they are, they're considered evil in God's eyes. So the way we look at, yeah, the person's a very nice person. Okay. They can have good qualities. Yes. 100%. They can have good qualities. How do they look in God's eyes? Right? I'll give one example. Secular Jew that doesn't keep Shabbos, he's got the status of a non-Jew, unless he repents. He can be the nicest person in the world. God looks at him as a guy, as a non-Jew. Could be very nice, but that doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything in God's eyes. You can have good character traits, okay. Right? Right? That's what you need. But that doesn't mean they're smelling good in God's eyes by any stretch. Someone says, Rabbi told me that they are Jews, but what they preach is not full Judaism. That's okay. Yeah. Do as I say, not as I do. Yeah. So it's not true Judaism, so probably it's heresy. Most likely it's heresy. That's a problem. Right? That is a problem. Right? So when they're asked, better stay away from them, yeah. Influence is bad. Influence is bad. It's funny. Like, made all these arguments, to this person last night. I didn't hear one of them. Like, it's like, well, it doesn't matter. I'm going to do this. Okay. That's not Judaism. Judaism is not what I feel like doing. And what fits into my schedule. I can never not work on Shabbos. Of course you could. I know plenty of people did it. Those the companies can't work on Shabbos anymore. So work out a deal with them. And if they won't work out a deal, find another job at some point, okay? Not impossible. Right? Well, it's very inconvenient. Yeah, it is. They gotta get up early, on Fridays, and during the winter, Shabbos comes in at 4:00. That's a problem. So what are you gonna do? You find a job that accompanies that. You're gonna be allowed to do that. Right? And you're gonna have to find a job to do that if you want to be Jewish. Right? At some point. I had somebody tell me, they weren't Jewish yet, but they made a meeting they had to be at. They absolutely had to be that, and it was the first day of Sukkot. I said, I can't get out of it. There's no way to get out of it. I can't believe, what am I supposed to do? So you know what I told them? I said, go buy a Jewish calendar. Go to a funeral parlor, yeshiva, somewhere. Go buy a Jewish calendar. Don't you know in September, beginning of September, middle of September, end of September, where you got Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot. You have to know when the holidays fall out, when Passover falls out, when Shavuos falls out. That was my answer. They didn't like my answer. They wanted me to get them out of the problem. I said, well, you're not Jewish, so it doesn't matter. But, so you could go to the meeting. But I said, for goodness sakes, you have to know when the holidays are. This wasn't a person who's been following Judaism for a few months. I said, you don't own a Jewish calendar? How in the world don't you own a Jewish calendar? And how do you not know that in September and October, the high holy days in Sukkot falls? Skipped your mind? Maybe. Maybe they forgot, they weren't paying attention, they were under pressure, whatever. Okay. You have to know when the holidays are. I have someone ask me every year, when's Rosh Hashanah? I said, the first day of Tishrei. They're like, no, what's the secular date? It's like, I don't know. It could be in the middle of September, it could be the end of September. It's like, you don't know the secular date? I go, yeah, it doesn't really ring a bell to me. I go by the Hebrew calendar. Hebrew calendar doesn't change every year. It's the first day of Tishrei. Hanukkah is the 25th of Kislev. Sometimes, like this year, it's going to be on December 25th. It's going to fall out then. Right? It could be at the beginning of December, middle of December. What's the exact date? I said, 25th of Kislev. I always take that answer. But usually I know the English date is. But that's the most important thing. You gotta know when the date is. You gotta know the date. It's like I said, I don't think this person liked my answer, but I just don't understand how you want to be an Orthodox Jew and you don't have a Jewish calendar. That's like olive based. You gotta know when the holidays come up. Somebody asks, let me see. Why did the ways become recognized as a Jewish change since Second Temple or the First Temple? be recognized as a Jew, and the Gemara says, teach them a little bit about this, a little bit about that, and that should be enough. But that doesn't mean they weren't learning before. That's, people quote this all the time. They say, you didn't really have to know that much. I said, yeah, but today, they're not going to convert anyone unless they feel they're proficient. Yeah, if you're not proficient, if you only know a little bit about this and a little bit about that, a little bit about the holidays and different things, you're never going to know what to do. How could they accept you? That has to be understood, the context. Yeah. People back then, okay, they could learn a lot more by osmosis, more than today. Even today, people get a lot of information on YouTube, good information, bad information. Yeah. So, information, let's say today, no matter where a person is, be able to find some information. But I'm saying back then, back then you want to be part of the Jewish community, you absorbed it. You saw it, you absorbed it. It's different. It's very different than it is today. Right? Today, you got to fight for it. Today, 500 years ago, it's a lot easier. 1,000 years ago, it's a lot easier. Today is not the case. Today, a person has to learn because, we're so far gone in many ways. When are we expected to move to a Jewish community? When are you supposed to move? As soon as possible. Whenever a person can. Makes life much easier. Does it have to be a fixed time, 6 months, a year, whenever. For most people, that's hard. That's the hardest thing. They can find a job, right? Find a place nearby, synagogue, different things. Okay. Yeah. I would say as soon as a person can move, they should. Now, for most people, once they're in this process, it could take them a year. It could take them 6 months. It could take them longer. It could definitely take them longer. But, there's I wouldn't say there's any fixed time. I would say as soon as a person can. As soon as a person can, that's what they should do. So that's why. What I'm going to ask? Okay. Let me see any other questions. How about as a free calendar online? It's so easy to get a Jewish calendar today, right? You don't need to go to a funeral parlor. You can get it online, yeah. All you have to do is type in Hebrew calendar. That's it. Very easy to find. Very, very easy to find. Well, I didn't expect somebody's trying to convert to Judaism for a number of years, and they don't know when the holidays come up. That they don't have a Jewish calendar. It's a mind-boggling thing. And sometimes I'm always surprised. Someone can tell me they've been learning for so long, this and that, and then they say something like that or whatever, and I'm like, so why don't you have a calendar? Yeah, how did you not even think about that? Like I said, they don't like my answer. Because I said you have to go, but they weren't Jewish. I said you're not Jewish, though. It's not a problem. You can go. But, they felt so bad about it. So I tried to comfort them a little bit, but I said I think it'd be a good idea to own a Jewish calendar. Then you won't make this mistake again. Right? When you make a mistake like that, you don't make it again. Right? You understand the mistake, and then you move on. But it's kind of mortifying. It's kind of mortifying not knowing the date of a holiday. That's then you get stuck like that. Yeah, I can hear that, but I wasn't. I should have showed a little more sympathy, probably, but it just sort of got under my grain a little bit because you imagine something going for I don't know 6-7 years. They've been keeping the holidays and doing different things and all this and all that, and they don't know September and October. They have to be careful if they doing things because when the holidays come up. I don't know. It's kind of lost it on that one. Yeah. What's the best way to try and introduce someone who has been harmed by religion? That's hard. That is hard. So I would say very quickly, just because things happen doesn't mean that that's what it is. That that's what the religion is. Yeah, I had a bad experience. Okay. Yeah. I'm not gonna say necessarily you have to give the person the benefit of the doubt. What they go, if they did something bad. Whatever, but that doesn't mean, that was in Christianity. Okay. That doesn't mean it's going to happen in Judaism. Now, people can have bad experience in Judaism also. In many different ways. So that destroys people. That I know of cases destroyed people. Person got embarrassed in public, other things, and done by, let's say, rabbinic leaders, so-called rabbinic leaders, destroyed them. Absolutely destroyed them. So that's hard. I don't have a one-word answer. I don't have a one-word answer for that, except that even if they're in a position of leadership and they do terrible things, that doesn't mean everyone else is bad. This is a bad egg. Yeah. They did bad things. Okay. But that doesn't mean their religion's bad. And there are people who take advantage of their position also. I've seen this a number of times. It's also bad. But, I know a lot of people have bad experience within Judaism. We use Judaism as an example. But it's not what it's supposed to be. It's definitely not what it's supposed to be. Can it turn people off? Yes. Now, so the question is, okay, so how do you bring them back? It's hard. It's not, it's not an easy thing because now they're damaged. And because it happened through religion, they look at the religion as being bad. But who said, the religion in its ideal sense, I mean, Judaism is not really a religion, it's like a way of life, but Judaism in itself, if someone abuses it, and the person has a bad taste, well, what's the first thing they're going to do? They're going to blame Judaism. It's not Judaism's fault. Now, let's say someone did something and the community pushes it under the rug and they don't deal with it or whatever. So that's a problem also. Also a problem. Yeah, and they say, well, the community lets people get away with it. And how can that be right? And yeah, there are issues. 100%. I know someone that had to come out strongly and the community didn't want to do it. They had to move because they got harassed. So they had to move. They moved to a different community. They're still keeping Torah mitzvahs. But there was a bad thing that happened. And the community didn't back them. Community didn't back them, badmouth them, other things, and so they felt the pressure was so great they had to leave. Now, couldn't that give someone a bad taste in their mouth? Sure. But again, there's Jews and Judaism. You don't mix the two. You don't mix the two. And sometimes we're our own worst enemy because of it. People say, oh, this rabbi did this and this rabbi said that and other things. Okay, I'm not justifying what people do. Never do. But at the same time, I would say that a person, has to see it for what it is. It is kind of hard. I would agree that, the community doesn't back you and they give you a hard time and whatever, and you just have to do what you need to do. So, yeah. But does that mean the whole, all of Judaism is bad? No. But this stinks to high heaven. Okay. So, it's hard to judge a person who goes through it. I agree. I agree. But I know of a number of experiences. People had, negative experiences in, the family of converts that because something happened and, either the community didn't get involved or got involved too late or, whatever, they left them a very bad taste in their mouth. Very, very bad taste in their mouth. And basically, the parents are still religious. A lot of the kids aren't, and even if they are, they're like traditional. What they call here Masorati, traditional. Yeah. So they felt they got burned by the system. The system burned them, didn't help them. So their kids went off, parents sort of went off in other ways. Doesn't mean they're not Jews, but they lost faith in the community. Now, losing faith in the community, again, it's a much bigger topic. Losing faith in the community is not a knock against religion. You're gonna say, but this shouldn't happen and whatever, right? Shouldn't. And sometimes people abuse the system. Sometimes people are protected that they shouldn't protect. And these are issues that people could say. But that's not what Judaism is, it's not what it should be. You're right. 100%. So how's the person going to deal with it? They could blame it on the religion. And just say, oh, this is what it does or whatever. And yeah. I say a number of things like that. And At the end of the day, at the end of the day, just got to be strong in saying that there's Jews in Judaism. Just because people did this, even the whole community or a bunch of people in the community, does not mean it's right. And a person may get burned by it, maybe. Could get burned by it. Doesn't mean it's right by any stretch. So I can see how it would give a bad taste in a person's mouth. I get it. Definitely can do that. But at the end of the day, what are you going to do from it now? So in a different religion, yeah, bad taste, but what does that have to do with Judaism? They say, but I don't trust people, right? Why should I trust another religion? It's only man-made and this and that. Okay, so that's where you learn things. But yeah, it's a question because a person can have a bad experience and they say, well, that's what Judaism is, or that's what this is, and people get away with things, and we're putting pressure on a lot of pressure and different things. Someone's backing us, and yeah, it can cause a lot of ill will, no question. But again, it's not a problem of Judaism per se. It's how people interpret it and what they do, what standards are, different things. Yeah. But you have to look at the whole package. If you don't look at the whole package, you see it's like, nobody cares, no one wants to help, no one wants this. And then they just get totally, what's the word? They get, they just don't have anything to do with it. Because, once the person gets burnt, and even if they get seriously burnt, it's hard for them to come back because, how could God allow this? How could they do this? How could they abuse their position? And people back them. No one wants to say anything. Yeah, it's an issue. It's a real issue. Somebody asks, how to find a community? Yeah, so I have a video on YouTube on that. The first thing is you gotta see, where you fit in with any of the Orthodox communities. Person feels like, they're gonna be yeshivish or Chabad or Breslov or whatever. You gotta see where, like what's behind the community, what they do and how they dress and this and that, what the philosophical outlook is. But a person has to see like where they themselves want to fit in. Where do they see themselves fitting in? And then try and find a community that's gonna cater to that. Right? I mean, you only have a handful of choices, right? Either person maybe feel more affiliated with Chabad, or maybe with Breslov, or maybe with the yeshiva community. Or a more Orthodox community, right? Or a mixture. Person has to see, first of all, what these communities represent, what their outlook is, what their dress is, and then see where they would fit in, among these communities. But I have a video on YouTube. I went through it. I went through the different communities, dress-wise, philosophically wise, how they look at the world, how they look at people working, and whatever. So you can take a look. Take a look there. Somebody asks, Lakewood or 770? Depends. I would not tell everyone to go to Lakewood. I think it's a very close community. Probably look somewhere like, friendly community, whatever, or they don't care. They want to be part of the strongest community. Okay. So, obviously you're going to have to dress a certain way, whatever, but, I would never tell people to go there. First of all, I don't think it's as friendly. Second of all, I think that that's really the main thing. But someone doesn't care. They just want to be, absorbed in like a very strong community. Okay. Or 770. Well, 770 is Chabad, so that's, you're at opposite spectrums here, right? Lakewood and Chabad are very different. Very, very different. So you have to see, like, where, that's not a decision for me to make. It depends where you fit in. I've been learning for the last 30 years. And I was in Lakewood, and, and have such great experience there. But, it's probably the strongest Jewish community in America, right? No question. No question. But, it's very different than Chabad. Someone asks on all these lessons because bad things happen in the world. It's a test. Like anything else, it's a test. You're 100% right. It's a big test. But if you don't, if you don't have the proper outlook, then the test destroys you. You lack emunah. If you lack emunah, then a person can say, well, they didn't back me, this didn't happen, but God sent you this test. Okay. You didn't ask for it. Okay. So the question is, how you do with it? Again, imagine if, let's say a community tries to protect somebody and, your family suffered and you feel like no one's backing you. Not only that, you're getting harassed, because of it. And they're putting pressure on you. That can leave a very bad taste in a person's mouth. So you tell me, okay, so a person has to have proper emunah, right? 100%. But could that grate on a person and, make them feel that, no one's helping them and it's, no one's backing them and feeling all alone? Yeah, 100%. Again, we can't judge anyone unless you've been in their shoes, but yeah, it's emunah, 100%. 100%. It's the way we look at it. Again, it's not a problem with Judaism. That's not the issue. It's the issue what people do. So people understand there's Jews and Judaism. You don't mix the two. You get bad eggs and they had an advantage and, something else happened. Okay. But when you get, that mentality, you get over that, then okay, it's still painful. It's still very hard. You can say, well, that person's lack of emunah. Maybe. But they went, let's say they went through a very hard time. But like anything else, a test. But when you feel like you come into Judaism and you feel like you're not protected and they're protecting people they shouldn't protect and they put pressure on you not to come out against them and blah, 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 can leave a bad taste. So they say that's a big test, right? We don't always pass the test. Are people very quick to blame God, to blame the community, to blame Judaism? You got to have thick skin here. All around, you got to have thick skin. Someone asked, Lakewood is Haredi. Right, so is Chabad. So is 770. They're also Haredi. Right? Some of them. I mean, they'll call themselves Haredi even though they're Hasidic. They dress almost the same. The mentality is different. But they fall under the same category, not modern Orthodox. Chabad is not modern Orthodox. They'll identify with Haredi, certainly not, certainly more than anyone else. Any other group. They're Hasidic, okay, different Hasidic group. All Hasidic groups are going to consider themselves Haredi. Ultra Orthodox, I don't think there's any question about that. I don't think there's any question. Their philosophical outlook might be a little bit different. That's true. That might be different. Dress is similar. But most things are similar. In many ways. Some of them okay. You got a significant minority that believe the Rebbe is the Messiah. Okay, so that's pretty much idolatry, right? But other than that, again, what's the emphasis? Is the emphasis on learning? Is the emphasis for Chabad is doing Jewish outreach? That's their emphasis. But until they do Jewish outreach, they're learning, right? So yeah, the focus is different. Dress might be a little bit different also, but I don't think. I don't like labels. I'm not a big fan of labels. But if a person's going to call themselves Orthodox, there are different groups, right? You're gonna be, a person's going to be Haredi, Ultra Orthodox. You're going to be modern Orthodox. You're going to be. Some are going to be. What do they call them? I forget what they call them. Open Orthodox, which is not really Orthodox. And then you have Hasidic. So where does someone who's Hasidic, Chabad, any other Hasidic sect, where would they fit in? What group would they fit into? They're not modern. No one can say it's modern Orthodox. Yeah, they're not open Orthodox. That's for sure. So they would fit into the category of being a Haredi. Again, philosophical outlook might be a little bit different. Their philosophical outlook might be different. It's true. Right? But that's why I think they would they would identify with. Someone asked, I always get approached by most questionable people. Find the faster I move myself better, right? Yeah, there's a problem. There is an issue, again, being around the wrong type of people. The wrong type of people convince you of a number of things, or try and convince you of a number of things, right? And that's going to be a problem. So you got to associate with people that are going to help you in the process, strengthen you and not weaken you. For sure. Someone asked, can one change? Oh, it's Chabad and Breslov. You don't know anything else. Why not? You don't have to stay in one group. Right? Sometimes people do. Some people do change. Right? They, they'll change from one group to another. It happens. Right? Can you? You can. 100%. No one, no one's leaving a person in just one group. You certainly can change if you want. Is bar mitzvah modern invention? Yes, definitely a modern invention. Back in Europe, what do they do for bar mitzvah? They had like, a little bit of herring. That's it. What does bar mitzvah really mean? It's taking on the yoke of mitzvahs. They call the person to the Torah. Right? That's what it signifies. Right? They're now considered a full-fledged member of the community. Right? As a girl also, except they're not called to the Torah. But celebrations and different things, yeah, that's, I would say, more modern thing. Back in Europe, people didn't have money, so had a little bit of herring in synagogue, or a shot of whiskey. That was it. So it's like more, I would say, the whole extravaganza today is more of a, like I said, just an American thing. Because here in Israel also, either a person will make a kiddush in the synagogue, or usually they'll have a night where they rent out a home or whatever, and people come to say Mazel Tov, and you have food there, or whatever. That's more common. Some people do both. Yeah, some people definitely do both. But if you don't do any of this, and the person just called to the Torah, and you have a little thing after in synagogue, yeah. But the whole thing today, yeah, is I know some places got out of hand, but like people try here, we try and make it pretty simple. Let's say they rent out a hall, and whatever, yeah, people make cakes, some people get it catered, whatever it may be. But the person doesn't even have to be called to Torah technically. Like I've heard people say, well, I never had my own bar mitzvah. Well, it doesn't matter. No matter whether you did or not, you come of age, whether you call to the Torah or not, it doesn't matter. Right? But that's the custom. Usually they read from the Torah, they call to the Torah. And it's taking on the yoke of mitzvahs. Now they have an obligation, right? According to age. They now have the obligation. So if they were never, let's say a person never called the Torah, let's say. Does that nullify it? Doesn't nullify it. They just never did it. They come of age, they're automatically, counted as part of a minyan. Right? Now they have obligations. Not as a child, they have obligations now as an adult. So that's what they have to do. Yeah. Let me see. Any other questions here? All right, I'm gonna stop here. I do this every Tuesday and Thursday, 10 o'clock Eastern time, 5 o'clock Israel time. Anyone has any questions, send me you can find me on Facebook at Chaim Kaufman, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism, orthodoxconversion.com, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism on YouTube. There I got videos on Q&As, ethics/fathers, Book of Leviticus. You want to send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RBBICHAIMCOFFMAN @gmail.com.